Hello guys, welcome here to another edition of Out of Turn 4. As you can tell, it's playoff hockey season, even though this is not a hockey show. But man, hoping my Lightning can get it together. That's all I could say. Coming up on the show, we're going to talk some NASCAR Talladega. We're also going to talk some of the news. We got a 34th entry to the Indy 500 we want to discuss. We've also got some drivers that will be making their debut this weekend in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and we'll have our picks for Barber and Dover. Barber, of course, the final race before we go to the month of May. But let's get things started with Talladega. And Jordan Anderson, man, talk about a full circle moment. Of course, he gets involved in a serious crash at Talladega last year, burned his hands, basically burned his whole body trying to get out of the car, or out of his truck. And somehow, fast forward to today, 6 months later or whatever, and Jeb Burton, his driver, gets Jordan Anderson Racing their first victory. Jeb Burton captures his second NASCAR Xfinity Series victory at the same place he got his first, at Talladega. Again, second career win, his first of the year, and just great full circle moment for Jordan Anderson after all that. And can I just say, man, that race had the feel of a vintage Talladega race. Everybody was just driving aggressive. It was a fun race to watch. I think that's the best Talladega race we've seen in a while, and I enjoyed it. So, again, glad everybody's okay. Glad the cars are very safe. But, man, I enjoyed, that's the kind of racing I enjoy. They raced, aggressive, they took risks, and sometimes they didn't pay off. That's the way it should be at Talladega. Look, we got safety features in the Xfinity that are good. And I do want to talk about Blaine Perkins as well, and I'm so happy Blaine Perkins is okay, especially because that wreck was scary. I mean, he went tumbling down that back stretch. I don't know if something didn't deploy in terms of, the roof flaps or something, but, man, glad he's okay. Kyle Busch on the Cup side, he gets his first restrictor plate victory since 2008. Yeah, it's been 15 years since Kyle Busch has won at Talladega or Daytona. He hangs on to get his second win of the year and his 62nd victory overall. Congrats to Kyle. For a man who bitched about Alex Bowman backing into every win he's ever gotten, it seems like the last few years he's really backed himself into a lot of wins. So, a little hypocritical, if I might say, but good race. Good race ruined by a last lap caution. But, I mean, Bubba threw an aggressive block. Blaney wasn't going to lift. Hope those two work things out because I know they're good friends off the track. So, I just hope they can work things out. But, again, so far, I was pleased with the race weekend. I think it was very vintage Talladega. We didn't see the single file line. I mean, let's face it, I think every fan is sick of watching a single file line for, 120 laps or 150 out of the 188 laps, and then they get going. I mean, I think everybody's sick of that. So, but with that, it's going to be a short episode today, guys. I apologize. I don't want to dive too deep into the news from last week because I feel like, there wasn't much to really catch up on, for one. And number two, again, still early in the year, so there's really not much headlines. But for the Indy 500, we do have some headlines, and of course, it surrounds a 34th entry. Yes, R.C. Enerson will be driving a 34th Indy 500 entry for Able Motorsports. He'll drive the number 50. So great to see. The last few years we've been deprived of a bump day. We had the one a few years ago where Juncos got in over Fernando Alonso, and I think that was really, the last one we've had. So, really excited to finally get a bump day. I know teams probably don't like it, but it adds to the excitement that surrounds, the Indy 500, the greatest spectacle in all of racing. It's a great element to lead into it. So I'm really happy to see that. And for RC to get another shot, I mean, he was a driver I didn't expect to. I was thinking maybe J.R. Hildebrand would be back, but RC's a good pick too, and hopefully he does well for Able. Hopefully he puts them in the field, but they're already operating from behind, so it's going to be rather interesting going into the month of May. And of course, this is our final episode before the month of May, and we hope, and I don't want to spoil anything yet, but we are hoping to do an Indy 500 special like we have in the past in late May. So we hope, to do that, and we hope you will tune in if we do so like we have in years past. Sorry, just fixing my hat. But we want to focus now on the NASCAR Xfinity Series Dover race weekend. And of course, we will have some new names. We will have Corey Heim in the number 24 for Sam Hunt. Big opportunity for him. He's a guy I think that, and again, I talked about on our last episode the top guys in each manufacturer's wheelhouse, and I said Corey Heim was one of those guys that was absolutely in the wheelhouse for for Toyota. In fact, I think he was number 1 on that list, but I will have to double check. In fact, he was number 2 on that list. I had Sammy Smith number 1, but I had Corey Heim second on that list. So, and he's going to be teaming up with Kaz Grala, who I had as number 3 on that Toyota list. I mean, I feel like, though, you can't get the expectation too high on Corey Heim, only because he's driving a Sam Hunt Racing Toyota. And don't get me wrong, they put together good machines. They don't necessarily put together, your race-winning car. They put together a car that he will hopefully have a strong run in. But, we'll see what happens. I think it'll be fun to watch Corey Heim wheel it. He's done well in the trucks. He's done well in ARCA. So I feel like this move up was only a matter of time, even if it is just in a one-off situation. Carson Hocevar will also be making his, now it's going to be his second NASCAR Xfinity Series start. Of course, he had to fill in for one race, I believe at SS Greenlight, but now he will make his first real attempt at Dover, or the one that was supposed to be his debut at Dover, driving for Spire. And of course, one key note is that it looks like that car is coming out of the Junior Motorsports shop, so it'll be interesting, to say the least, what this 77 will be able to do. 40 cars have entered, so hopefully there will be no rain, because if it rains, for sure Carson Hocevar will not be racing. I just hope as well that he can keep it clean, because I go back to the Chevy camp. I don't even think I had him in my top 3 in the Chevy camp, but that's just because Chevy is so loaded with talent right now. They've got Austin Hill, they've got Chandler Smith, and they've got Josh Berry in the wheelhouse. So it's, it's difficult to put Hocevar in the top 3 when it's those 3 guys that are really just the class for Chevrolet right now. So, I mean, Hochevar's definitely going to be the next man up. But he has to clean up this aggressive driving. He's basically committed murder a couple different times. He's got to clean it up. Bottom line. But anyway, we go into our race picks. And I'm sorry, again, this episode is so short. But there's really just nothing much to talk about. So we begin with the IndyCar series at Barber. And of course, again, the final race before the month of May kicks off, because we'll have the Indy GP on May 13th, since we're basically going every other week till Indy. And then, we've got the Indy 500 May 28th. So, last run before Indy, and Alex Palou is going to be my pick. I feel like this track suits him. I believe he's won here before. So this is really, a good race for him to go out and get a victory. Especially going into Indy next month. So it'll be fun to watch. So then, now I got my Xfinity Series Dover pick. I'm picking Justin Allgaier. He's always been strong on these mile concrete, ovals here. So, or he's always been strong at Dover, so I think I'm just going to go with him. I think he'll continue his strong dominance, and I think he'll help get Junior Motorsports back on the right track, because they've not had a great start to the year. I think they'll get things going in this race. I would also watch... I'd also watch Sammy Smith. I think Sammy Smith is going to impress. So, we'll see. Cup Series at Dover, I got to go Kyle Larson. This track suits him as well. He's been good here in the past, and he's starting to get on a tear, so I think he'll get that third win of the season at Dover. Again, sorry it's a short episode, guys. I do want to thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to tune in to No Final Bell tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern. I'll be back here on Sunday with Jason for Sunday Morning Tinkle. Otherwise, we'll see you back here next Tuesday, and for sure next Tuesday, for another edition of Out of Turn 4. Until then, goodbye, everyone.